Hello everybody, and thanks for joining. My name is Vic Camacho, and I'm a Principal Technologist with the Technical Advocacy Group here at Cohesity. And today we're going to be covering how to bring SecOps and ITOps closer together, and some of the challenges that come along with that. Traditionally, SecOps and IT operations, or ITOps, are different teams with different roles. In fact, oftentimes, if not always, they utilize different tools. This can cause silos of information that don't necessarily coalesce together to give a more complete look of what is happening in the environment. Today, SecOps is challenged with defending against ransomware. In some cases, traditional cybersecurity systems simply do not detect emerging attacks, and given today's cyber threat landscape, it only makes sense to bring both SecOps and ITOps closer together to team up and help fight against ransomware. In supporting this effort and providing additional detection for security operations, Cohesity will alert SIEM and source systems on anomalies detected in backup data that may indicate that ransomware is in progress. The alert would then be handled by the incident response and/or security operations team. At Cohesity, we follow a common framework to help our customers have a better security posture. We call it Protect, Detect, and Recover. Let's take a look at how this works and how we can help ITOps and SecOps to work more closely together. I'll first cover how we protect. Now, you already know that Cohesity offers data protection with the capability of making those backups immutable and tamper resistant. But what about the overall security posture of your Cohesity systems? That's where Cohesity Security Advisor comes in. As changes and upgrades happen, you can experience configuration and compliance drift that take you away from a hardened state and leave you more vulnerable. This is where we turn to the Security Score section in Security Advisor that will help you to identify systems that need remediation. Security Advisor can automatically scan your Cohesity systems to score each cluster's security configuration and posture and provide actionable recommendations for remediation. As you can see, I'm already logged into the Security Advisor section in Helios. Here you can see some systems have been identified as needing some attention and potentially some remediation. I'll click on the top one so that we can see what that looks like. From here, you can drill down to see what the specific issues are. I'll expand on one of the issues. Here you will be provided with a link with the recommended remediation steps. Now I'm going to show you how we help detect anomalous and potentially dangerous data by moving to the Anti-Ransomware section. But before we cover that section, it's important to note that Cohesity operates from our threat defense architecture that is based off of zero trust principles and is baked into both on-prem and cloud-based systems. Through our AI-driven anomaly detection, Cohesity can identify anomalous snapshots that could potentially have ransomware in play. Here we have some objects that have been identified as having anomalous snapshots. By clicking down in one of the objects, you can see all of the snapshots that have been taken. Here you can see the date and time of the anomalous snapshot. Also note that just below is the last known clean snapshot that you can recover from in the case that ransomware is in play. Here's where we bridge the gap between SecOps and ITOps. As mentioned earlier, SecOps use their own security systems. In this example, the SecOps engineer is utilizing Cisco SecureX. Through our third-party extensibility, we are able to seamlessly send the anomalies detected in Cohesity into SecureX. This allows the SecOps engineer to investigate from their own system. From a SecOps perspective, it's all about early detection, early investigation, and early recovery if threats like ransomware are in play. Now let's move over to see what our SecOps engineer is seeing. From the SecureX dashboard, security operations can see that there are 11 anomalous incidents being reported by Cohesity. To see what those are, simply click on the blue bar at the bottom. I can already see the VM object that I want security operations to investigate for me. Under the Summary tab, we have some information. This is an anomalous object from Cohesity Helios. I can see where the VM is being managed by our vCenter and the Cohesity cluster that is in play here. Now, after some investigation, security operations can click on Observables, and from this section can either decide to ignore the anomaly. After some investigation, maybe it was determined that there was no ransomware in play. If there is ransomware in play, then security operations can decide to restore the anomaly. Through its orchestrated automated workflow, this can kick off a recovery job on the Cohesity side. I'm going to go ahead and click on this now so we can see what that looks like. You will see that it was successful. Now let's jump over to the Cohesity side to see what that looks like. From here, we will click on the cluster in question. And from data protection, we'll go to recoveries. And sure enough, here is the job that's been kicked off. It's at about 40%. Now again, this is all about bridging the gap between IT ops and SecOps. Early detection, early investigation, and early recovery is key here. This allows for both teams to work together to help combat ransomware. In quick review, I've shown you how Cohesity can help to protect the environment with capabilities like Security Advisor that can help identify systems that don't meet a best practice security posture. I've also shown how Cohesity can help detect cyber threats like ransomware through our AI-driven anomaly detection, and how through Cohesity's third-party extensibility can bring IT ops and SecOps closer together to help combat against ransomware. Now I'm going to show you how Cohesity can directly help you to recover in the event of an outage or cyber threat like ransomware. Cohesity has a feature called Instant Mass Restore, or IMR for short. It allows you to recover multiple VM objects in mass. You can do that from this very same recoveries page. Let's get started. On the upper right-hand corner, click on the Recover button. I'm going to go ahead and recover some virtual machines. From here, we're going to do a search for our virtual machine. Then I'll select the VMs I want to recover. And on the right-hand side, we would select the recover point that we would like to recover from. I'm going to go ahead and just select this one here. Here we can select the snapshot that we would like to recover from. I'm going to go ahead and use this one as an example. And on the right-hand side, you'll notice a couple of icons. You'll notice that we have a local snapshot, but we also have one that is vaulting into Fort Knox. More on Fort Knox in just a little bit. For this example, we're going to recover from a local snapshot. Simply select the local copy, then click on the Select Recovery Point button. From here, we click on the Recover Options button. Here we have a few more options to consider. In this example, I'm going to recover to the original location. As this is an instant mass recovery, we're going to select Instant Recovery. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything default for this example. I will, however, put a prefix so that I can go back into the environment and clean this up later, since this is a demo. Then simply scroll to the bottom and select Recover. Now what's happening here is that we are now recovering 4 VM objects. This is going to take a while, so we won't stay here to see it recover, but let me explain what's happening on the back end. I know that these VMs are being managed by a vCenter. When we kick off this recovery, Cohesity is presenting the Cohesity storage as a data store to vCenter. vCenter then sees the VMs that are located on that data store and starts to power them on immediately. Now behind the scenes, VMware is migrating those VMs from the Cohesity data store onto its original location. If you recall, I selected to restore the VMs to the original location. And that's how instant mass recovery works. You can recover VMs in mass. If you want to see a more granular look of how instant mass restore works, we already have an excellent video on the Cohesity YouTube channel that you can see. I'll leave the link to the video in the description below. Having the instant mass restore capability is great to have when you're trying to recover quickly and efficiently. But what if there's an event that is preventing you from recovering with local copies? This is where Fort Knox comes in. Fort Knox is our fully managed data isolation SaaS-based offering that allows you to keep an isolated and immutable copy of your data away from your on-prem environment. To see Fort Knox, simply click on the scope selector on the upper right-hand corner and select Fort Knox from the menu. If you don't see Fort Knox listed, then it's not enabled for your account. You would need to have a paid or trial license to access Cohesity Fort Knox. You can contact Cohesity or reach out to your account team to have it enabled for your account. We'll go ahead and click on Fort Knox here. And when you do select Fort Knox, you'll notice that you will be placed directly into the dashboard view of Fort Knox. In the topology view, you can see that I'm already successfully vaulting to 2 regions from my Cohesity cluster, as denoted by the green arrow stemming from my Cohesity cluster to each of the regions. You can also see that I have another vault sitting just to the right of this, but I don't have anything vaulting to it yet. I could create another policy from my Cohesity cluster and vault to this third cloud vault that I have enabled here. As you add more Cohesity clusters and vaults, you will see this topology view populate with more. If it gets to be too big, then you can always zoom in and zoom out as you require. From here, you can get a little more context by clicking on the little cloud vaulting icon. So US West 2 looks like it's successfully vaulted 13 times. Everything here looks happy. It has 0 failed jobs. And likewise with the second vault, US East 2, it looks like it has successfully vaulted 7 times already. So you take that 7 plus the 13 on US West 2, and that should add up to 20, which is displayed on the upper right-hand corner under the vaulting run section. Now by default, the dashboard would be set to look at 7 days, but you can hit this drop-down menu here. You select what you want this to be. Now let's move over and take a look at the Cloud Vaults that I am working with today. To do that, click on the Cloud Vaults drop-down menu and select Configuration. Here you can see that the 3 vaults that were displayed in the topology view are displayed here as well. Now here you can see that they are all provisioned, but I have one of them that are disabled. Under the backup window column, you can see that I have 2 enabled and 1 disabled. Now let me move your attention over to the clusters column. In order to have this showing 8 of 8, then you will have to have all your Cohesity clusters running version 6.8. 6.8 is the version you want to use if you want to take advantage of our vaulting capabilities using Cohesity Fort Knox. Now let's take a look at how to create a Cloud Vault. Simply move to the upper right-hand side of your screen and click on Create Cloud Vault. From here, you can select the region that you would like to vault to. This is a scrollable window, and as you scroll down, you can see all the regions that are available to us today. At the very bottom, you will see what you've already provisioned as vaults, and you can see that I already have US East in Ohio, US West in Northern California, and US West in Oregon. So I'm going to go ahead and select Frankfurt as an example. And just to the right-hand side of that, you have your encryption options. You can hit the drop-down menu and select Self-Managed KMS, which is AWS only, or leave it as default with Cohesity KMS. Now from here, all you would have to do is click Create. Now I'm not going to do that here, but it usually takes 3 to 5 minutes for that region to be created because it's being done on the back end with AWS. So here I will click Cancel. If I were to click OK, then in about 3 to 5 minutes, you would see a 4th vault created just underneath this list. Now let's go ahead and look at the policies that make this happen. To look at the policies, let's go ahead and move over to Cloud Vault and then select Protection. Here you can see the activity that has happened today. This is for the past 24 hours, but you can also hit the drop down here and drill into the specific time that you would like. To look at the policies, click on the Policies tab. Here you can see that I'm working with 2 policies that are vaulting to Fort Knox. I have a bronze policy and I have a gold policy. Now under the clusters column, you can see which clusters I'm working with. Currently I'm working with this one here. You can see that this policy also has a localized backup happening. And just to the right of that, you'll see the little vaulting icon under Cloud Vault. What that means is that this is also vaulting to Fort Knox. This is your completely isolated, immutable copy of your data that we're keeping away from your on-prem environment. So let's go ahead and click on the gold policy itself to get a little more context. So you can see that we have the extended retention here. It will retain for 3 months, which means data lock is enabled for 3 months. And then you have your retry options. Now on the right-hand side, you can see that this has a Cloud Vault associated with it under this box here to the right. Now, this is what I want to direct your attention to. By default, as soon as you vault any data into Fort Knox, data lock is going to be enabled. In fact, the option is grayed out. And we do this because every time you vault into Fort Knox, we want to ensure that your data is completely immutable and tamper-proof. So that's a really important security feature that we want to make note of. And then right below that is what I'm protecting. In my example, I'm using a Windows virtual machine to back up. Now, what I want to cover next is an important security feature that is associated with Cohesity Fort Knox, and that is Quorum. To see the Quorum, simply go over to the left-hand side of the screen, hit the security drop-down menu, and select Quorum. Now, Quorum is that feature that requires at least 2 people to make changes to the system or to recover any data from the vault. As you can see here, I don't have any pending requests, but if I go to my requests, it will show 2 that I had earlier today. So let's move over to group so you can see the members of the Quorum group. And here you can see that I have one called Tag Admins. It is currently active, and the list of approvers is listed under approvers, and then the operation target is Helios. Now this is where you can create your Quorum group. To do that, simply click on the Create Group button, give it a name. I'm just going to call this Test Admins. For operation targets, you can leave it as Helios, which means that they would be able to approve any actions to any Cohesity clusters that they can see under their purview. Or if you only want to give them access to certain clusters, then you can certainly select clusters and then you would pick from a list on which clusters they had the rights to make approvals for. From there, you can give it a brief description. Under the operations menu, this is where you would assign rights or privileges on what they can approve or deny. For being able to recover from Fort Knox, all you would simply need is data protection. And then finally, the approvers. Who do you want to allow to approve or deny requests for changes to the system or recovery from Fort Knox? And so here's where you can add your members. I'll add myself, I'll add Jay Wallace and Jay Hildebrand. Now, once you've selected that, you now want to give the approval quorum numbers. Now, you can certainly have all the members in this quorum group approve, but that means that all 3 members would have to approve before any actions would be allowed. Or click on the At Least Radio button and select at least 2 members. Now, the system by default will not allow you to select one. So if I hit the drop down arrow, it's not allowing me, but I can certainly go up to include all 3. Now, you can add more members here, which means that you could increase this number as well. And then finally, in the approval workflow section is where we want to identify how many hours it will take before the action is automatically denied or accepted. Now, by default, we want it to be denied because we don't want any pending approvals or requests lingering around the system. And so you can specify how many hours you want that to happen. You can also specify how many days if you wish it to be that long. Here, I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. But essentially, if you were to create the group, you would see another quorum group created just underneath the tag admins. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and kick off a recovery so that we can see what this actually looks like. To do that, we're going to go over to Cloud Vault, click on Recoveries. Then we're going to move over and click on the Recover button. From here, you select the objects that you want to recover. And then you want to select the cluster that you're working with. In my case, it is this bottom one here. Then simply click on the Select button. Now here we do support the wildcard feature. So if you have a long list that appears here, and this is a lab environment, so it's a little light. But if you do have a lot of objects here, you can simply start typing the wildcard selection, and I see that I do have the virtual machine displaying that I want to use, and so I will select the one I want. Now on the right-hand side, we want to go ahead and select the recover option. To do that, we want to select the edit button here, and then we can come back and select a different date, right? So I'm just going to select May 16th as an example. Maybe this is just the date I know that we did have clean copies of the backup. Here you can see that this is a local backup, but we want to restore from the vault itself. So you simply click on the vaulted icon, click on the select recovery point. The next is to select where you want to recover to. And here we can recover to the original location, or we can go to a new location. I'm going to keep everything default, so we're going to go ahead and recover to the original location. We want this to be an instant recovery. Again, this is through our instant mass recovery capability. We're going to go ahead and select everything as default. And then the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to add a little prefix so that I know which copy I restored, so that I can go back into the environment and clean it up later. And then simply click on the recover button. Now you see that the request has been submitted for quorum approval. To do that, we're going to go back into security and then select quorum. Now here you can see that I have a pending request. To approve or deny it, simply click on it. And then on the right-hand side, we can decline or approve. I'm going to go ahead and approve this. And I'm just going to give it a quick message and approve. Okay, so this is successfully approved. So now we go back to our pending requests. You can see that it has disappeared from my view. So if we go back to all requests now, you can see that it's still in pending state. I was the requester, I approved it, but now I'm waiting for a secondary approver to this. Without that, the request to recover from the vault will not happen. So either someone denies, approves, or if they don't see it, it'll just fall off after 4 hours because that's what we selected for this quorum group. And that's it. In summary, I've shown how Cohesity can help to protect the environment with capabilities like Security Advisor that can help identify systems that don't meet a best practice security posture. I've also shown how Cohesity can help detect cyber threats like ransomware with our AI-driven anomaly detection, and how through Cohesity's third-party extensibility can bring SecOps and ITOps closer together to help combat against ransomware. And finally, how Cohesity can help you to recover through capabilities like Instant Mass Restore and Fort Knox for those times that you need to recover from an immutable and isolated copy of your data. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.